Money and girls is like a black hole. I feel like there's never enough.
The Dan Bilzerian phenomenon, 44 million people watching you.
It's kind of a crazy thing, man. It just kind of happened out of nowhere. It was just to get laid. Social media was like kind of a tool for that.
In 30 years, you'll still be on Instagram and
Fuck no, man. If I'm on Instagram in 2 years, dude, I'm just so over social media. I think it's like the worst thing to happen in society, honestly. It just takes out like a lot of interpersonal connection. Like I feel like people don't live in the moment as much. People are so worried about capturing it on Instagram. That addiction to likes, commenting, engaging, attention, future generations are like really overstimulated. Fame definitely got some negatives that I feel like people don't consider, like the lack of privacy.
So money doesn't buy happiness?
Oh, fuck no. Chasing money and girls is not what makes you happy. I think happiness comes more from having good friendships and doing things with your friends. I did mushrooms on a beach, and it was just like 5 of my buddies hanging out, talking shit. It didn't cost me anything, and I had like a fucking great time. Like a hippie in a van could have had the same day. It was pretty eye-opening. You don't need a lot of money to like have some really good times.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... I know what you're thinking, Brian. Why have Dan Bilzerian on London Real? This is a guy who throws porn stars into pools, who shoots guns, who has 20 women living in his Bel Air penthouse, massive apartment. But I knew there was something more behind the man. And so when I sat down with Dan, we went straight in and talked about psychedelics. We talked about the relationship between pleasure and happiness. And I went in deep about how he really feels about social media and the dynamics between men and women and how he sees that play out in his life. And it was pretty fascinating talking to Dan and hearing about his new company, Ignite, where he sells CBD and cannabis as well. And he's building an entire business around this whole concept. And I know you're going to enjoy this. This is a very surprising and unexpected episode on London Real. So sit back and prepare to be completely surprised. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Dan Bilzerian, the poker player, Instagram influencer, and founder of the cannabis and CBD company Ignite International. After being honorably discharged from the military, following a 4-year service and 2 Navy SEAL Hell Weeks, you attended the University of Florida, where you spent time learning to gamble. This led you to become a professional poker player, winning over $50 million in a single year. Your popularity then skyrocketed as you documented your lavish lifestyle of opulence, sex, and partying with over 44 million people following you on social media. Today, you're the founder of the cannabis and CBD company Ignite and focused on building the most trusted brand in the industry. Dan, welcome to London Real.
Man, that was quite a hype. I like that. We need to go to the bar tonight. You can just introduce me like that. That'll be good.
I don't know if you need any help there. So. How's London treating you? What do you make of this town? Would you ever have a house here?
Man, I don't know. It's expensive. It's hard to live here. I mean, you gotta be really rich to live good here. It's kind of like...
Even compared to Bel Air?
Oh yeah, way more expensive, I think. I think it's more expensive than New York, no?
Could be, yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, you spend a lot of money for a little bit here. But it's I like the people here. The weather, not so much, but it's, I like it better in New York. But I'm not like a huge city guy, so it wouldn't be my...
What do you like about the people here? What do you notice?
I don't know. I just feel like they're pretty authentic. LA people are pretty fake, so that's kind of nice. But I don't know. I mean, always been nice to me, always been cool. I really have nothing bad to say, about London. It's a good spot. Yeah, like Spain, not so much. It was a little dirty. Food wasn't that great.
And what about, you think we could get you in a 3-piece suit while you're here?
I wear them occasionally, try not to, but yeah, never know. I didn't bring any on this trip, so it's not going to happen this trip.
Gotcha.
Me getting in a 3-piece suit, period, is very unlikely.
Well, I told a lot of people I was going to sit down with you, and it's pretty interesting, the reactions I got. I think you divide people when you talk when they talk about you. And what I found interesting was, I told the girls, but it was the guys that actually I found, some loved you and some hated you.
Yeah.
And that actually surprised me. I was just like, why and what's going on? But you definitely are divisive, and
very polarizing for sure.
I was wondering if we could talk about that, and maybe just start off with getting your read on the Dan Bilzerian phenomenon and why people watch you, and just because you probably had time to think about that. And before we get into that, I'd love to get your thoughts on 2 quotes from one of your favorite authors, Henry David Thoreau. Sure. And I'm going to hit you with these now, and then I'd love to get your opinion. The first one is, this one: the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation.
Yep.
The second one is, rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth.
Yep.
What do those quotes mean to you? Because in a weird way, it kind of defines who you are, I think.
Yeah. Just kind of unapologetically myself. I never really confined to the norms, the PC, culture of, you're supposed to say this, you're supposed to do this. I just always kind of, did my own thing. And so I think people are starting to respond really well to that. Like Cardi B, for instance. I mean, here's a, stripper that, she just speaks her mind, and people like that. I think there's a lot of, celebrities coming out now that are very unorthodox, and before it was basically, you couldn't say anything, that was controversial. And I think now the controversy is, one of the more positives. I think it's weird, like some of the, negative press that I got me, more popularity than, some of the positive stuff, so.
Like what? The bear.
Throwing the, Dan Bilzerian throws porn star off the roof, Dan Bilzerian arrested in, LAX on federal bomb making charges,
right.
Stuff like that. Yeah. And it's funny because like those, the bomb making one, that was like pretty low key. I blew up a semi truck that I owned, and they made it sound like I was kind of a terrorist at the airport with a bomb,
Were you blowing it up at the airport?
No, I mean, okay. I flew in there on my plane. Like, I'm not going to blow up my own plane, and so it's a thing. But the headlines now, it's not necessarily about what's true or what's accurate. It's more about like what's going to get somebody to click on this article. We've become like a society of more clickbait. So just that over here. Yeah, it seems like it's about just getting web clicks and not about reporting the news anymore.
And have you always been kind of unapologetic and just been you?
Yeah, I never really like wanted to have like a 9-to-5 or do like a conventional job. Just never appealed to me. So.
You had Cardi B at one of your parties. You guys get along well because you guys speak the truth?
I didn't talk to her a ton, but she seemed nice to me. Yeah, I do like the fact that she's just kind of who she is, and she doesn't really give a shit.
You think Donald Trump kind of ushered some of this stuff in as well, just being himself?
I mean, the guy became president based on that, right? I mean, kind of, yeah, it's crazy. Name calling and doing all this wild shit and getting people to pay attention to him.
Right. And what do you make of the phenomenon that is Dan Bilzerian? 44 million people watching you, and
crazy thing.
Yeah. Why do you think it's there? Is it because most people are living those lives of quiet desperation, and
yeah, I mean,
you're
I think,
a reflection of what they could be?
Yeah, I think people are just they're just doing what they're supposed to do or what people tell them to do, and it's kind of unfortunate. It's afraid to kind of step outside the box, and I've lived outside the box my whole life. So
right, it's just you just started showing it in the last 5 years on social.
Yeah, I think like 7 years. Can I put this on my shirt?
Yeah. So back to the Dan Bilzerian phenomenon. 44 million people watching you.
It's kind of a crazy thing, man. It just kind of happened out of nowhere too. Yeah, it's like a couple little things like the porn star off the roof, and then just starts the momentum just picks up, and I think it's like once you get to 100,000, then it's easier to get to 500. Once you get to 500, it's easier to get to 1 million, and then because the thing is like so as soon as like one person likes it, then everybody that they see that follows them see that they like, you know what I mean? So it's like that, tree branch effect.
Right.
So.
And was this always a plan? Is there a master plan behind it or not? Because some people say
honestly,
you're the social media genius. But.
It was just to get laid. I mean, that was really like the whole like start of this thing, was just to kind of, subtly brag online and get laid easier with less effort. And social media was like kind of a tool for that. And
that's something that didn't happen much when you were a kid?
Like not a ton in high school. And then, the military was, I was in SEAL training most of the time. So, yeah. College, it was good, but, yeah.
And you said before that, you didn't get much attention as a kid, which is why now you like to, be a flashy lunatic. That's what you said before. Is that a generalization, or is that a fair assessment of you?
I mean, that was probably a contributing factor, I think. I think when I look back, a lot of the things that I did was, like when I was a kid, my dad had the big house, but he didn't have the Ferraris, he didn't have the fast boats and the nice watches and all the stuff that my neighbor did. So I think a lot of stuff from your childhood influences you. So when I, made a ton of money, I just went out and, got all that stuff. I got the, the cars and the watches and the plane and the, all the stuff. So.
Do you think you're an extroverted person? Because you seem kind of like an introvert sometimes.
I'm so overexposed that to me, I think fame is isolating, fame and money too. So I would say the more the spotlight's on you, the more you kind of don't want it. You're like, you ever go out and you feel like people are looking at you? Well, like imagine going out and feeling like that, and they just always are. So it's like after a while you lose your privacy, and then you're just like, fuck, I don't know. Like going out such a production, you need security, you need this, you need that, and then you're gonna have to take a bunch of pictures and talk to people and have conversations, and I don't know. I mean, if you go out and you're fucking high, you don't really want to talk to a bunch of strangers, Remember I was on mushrooms one time and I got fucking cornered. I like walked out to this peninsula. I was in Mykonos, and I came back and there was like all these people waiting to talk to me. I was like, fuck, like that was the last thing I wanted to do, but I didn't have a choice. I could have like swam around them maybe. I like contemplated that, but it's just, like your life just changes. It's not, not the same. Like you can go out to a bar, you go to a ball game, and it's not a production. Like if I went to like a sporting event, like I'd have 1 million people come up and want to have a conversation with me. So
you posted something on your Instagram a few months ago about an Alan Watts video, and as you said, this is what I think about when I'm on the mushrooms, and it was I think it was talking about what happens when you only pursue pleasure.
Yeah.
And it was pretty interesting to see you post that, and you're like, this is what I think about sometimes. And
well, I think I said that's like pretty much like a summary of like a lot of what I learned when I did some mushrooms. Pleasure seeking, it's not the same as going after happiness. It's more fleeting. The video summed it up probably better than I could do in this interview.
It got deep really at the end. It was like, you're one with the divine. It's better to give than receive. It was stuff you don't see on Bilzerian's Instagram account necessarily.
It's true though, man. Like, and it's funny because my dad told me that when I was younger. He's like, yeah, it's better to give than receive. I was like, well, that's perfect because I love to receive and you like to give. I was like, you can just give me a bunch of shit. And I was like, we'll both be happy.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.